change Richmond from the extractive economy to the regenerative and sustainable economy that we need to survive as a people in Richmond. So thank you very much, and I'd like to turn it over to Raven, who's going to tell you a little bit about the Our Power Coalition. Raven from Urban Tilth. Stay up here, stay up here. Stay up here.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? Good. So my name is Raven, as you just previously introduced me. I'm from Urban Tilth. I do the Farm to Table CSA, and I'm also part of the Richmond Our Power Coalition. The last major event, it was so like a big outcome. It was so exquisite. It was the Soul to Soul we had out here in San Francisco. We did protests, we did local tours, we marched, we had summits, and it was just like exclusive, like it was so wonderful, and I just loved it. I wish you guys were all there. Hope you guys were there. So we come together to leverage a collective power and take control and to help shape our future, to make sure we have our inputs in them. So as a community, we need to know who we are voting for to help us turn all of our solidarities into solutions. So that is why we're here today in the candidates forum, to interview these candidates to see if they will fit into the best aspects of our life to better our community, not just for us, but with us. So just don't vote. Go beyond voting. Help build a community power and be part of this movement. Thank you.
Give it up for Raven, the Urban Tilth, another one of our young leaders in the community.
At this time, we're going to ask for another round of applause as our Power Coalition members on the stage.
And excuse me, but I forgot to mention safe return. My bad. Safe return.
Thank you all for being here. So at this time, I would like to ask all of our running and returning candidates to please come up on stage. We would like to introduce you all.
For coming here tonight to share the evening with us. So let me kind of explain the process that we're going to do this evening. So the first part we're going to do is we have 2 prepared questions, and we have folks who are going to read those questions. And each of you will be given 1 minute to respond to those questions. And then we will then move into a separate process where we're going to have 5 different circles where there will be a specific topic to each of those circles. And it will be facilitated conversations. But the candidates are going to move from circle to circle every 10 minutes so that the people in those circles can talk to you directly and ask you questions. And then we will finally come back and we will then have a lightning round where we have 28 questions that we want you to answer yes or no. And we'll give you a signal so you can indicate yes or you can indicate no. And yeah, just like Miss Nancy. And then finally we'll have one final closing question for you. And then that'll be a long evening and we appreciate your participation. So I believe for the first question, we have a representative from ACE. Representative from ACE. Come on up here. Oh, my bad. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we'd like to introduce all of the candidates. And so first we have Ada Recinos, who's running for Richmond City Council. And we also have Diego Garcia running for Richmond City Council. We have Melvin Willis running for mayor. We have Kathy Robinson, who's running as a write-in candidate for mayor. Virginia Ramirez, who's running for Richmond City Council. Carol Johnson, who's running for Richmond City Council. And Tom Budd, who's running for mayor of Richmond. So now, our ACE representative.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ina Mason. I am part of ACE, long-time member. Can you hear me now? Okay, like I said, my name is Ina Mason. I am a long-time member of ACE, and I'm a North Richmond resident. My question is, and good evening to all the candidates. I wish you all well. And my question is, first statement, you know, as it is, Richmond has been experiencing, how should I put it, a nice term.
Microphone.
Rent has been going up so high that people are not able to sustain where they're living, yet even to not just sustain, but to move elsewhere. People have been moving out of the city. So with that happening, you know, prices are skyrocketing, people of color, people in general are having trouble. And I would like to know, what are the policies that you have in favor to deal with the affordable housing crisis?
So, each candidate gets 1 minute to answer that question, starting with Ada Bracino.
PK is our timekeeper, so when she raises her hand, the time will go.
Not very well.
Does it sound kind of weird?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with this.
Hello everyone, my name is Ada Vecinos, and some of the proposals that I have to increase affordable housing is to cultivate developers who are socially conscious and mindful of the type of community that we want to build. We also have an opportunity to use commercial linkage fees to increase the pot of funds for money so that we can do more affordable housing. We also have an opportunity to increase our in-lieu fees so that they're at the tipping point, where we can decide to use those fees for housing services. We can also use fees to provide some support for our landlords who are low income so that they can do repairs and maintenance and not feel the burden as speculation continues to rise. But because of that, I'm a supporter of Yes on 10 because I believe that that will stabilize rent for now and then we continue working to build more housing, but prioritize affordable housing at a high percentage for all income levels. Thank you.
Low-income resident of Richmond when I came here in 1977, and my family and friends of mine, we fought for Proposition 10 way back maybe a good 5 years ago. And as a landlord now, as a business owner, and also as a owner of a triplex, I definitely understand what the low-income families are going through. And just like what Ada just mentioned right now, be able to understand it and support also the landlords, especially the single-family homes. I understand that's not under the Prop 10, but we have to be able to educate them, get them some tools and the resources for them to not be afraid or scared that Proposition 10 is going to affect them. So definitely I'm for Proposition 10 and see how we can educate the community and also landlords to be able to give them the tools and the resources necessary. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Melvin Willis. In 2016, I was part of the organizing effort to pass rent control, the first rent control law passed in California in over 30 years, along with just cause for eviction protections. On the same vein as the previous speakers, we need to increase our in-lieu fees up to a way where when market rate developments actually do come into the city, we're getting enough money to put into affordable housing. We need to be choosy about the types of developers that do come into Richmond, and I'm more or less interested in mixed-use affordable housing developers to help desegregate our communities so we can have multiple income levels living in one same area as opposed to it being segregated by income. And at the same time, voting yes on Prop 10 means that rent control in Richmond and any city in California can expand and protect more tenants to keep our homes and rental units more affordable as we figure out how we deal with this affordable housing crisis. And in addition to that, not only increasing the in-lieu fees, but requiring developers to build affordable housing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Martinez. I'm currently on the Richmond City Council, and I'm running for re-election. So I thoroughly support Proposition 10, because Proposition 10 puts a break on the market. People say that the market works, but the market hasn't worked because if it did, we wouldn't have so many homeless people. We wouldn't have so many people unable to pay their rents. So I also believe in mixed level income, and I would work to have developers who are socially conscious and who would build housing for lower income. I'm also thinking of setting up community buildings as an alternative model for housing.
My name is Kathy Robinson. I'm running as a write-in candidate for mayor. I've been in Richmond for 62 years. I've taught in Richmond for 49 years. I've lived in a house since I was 18 for 49 years. The biggest problem in Richmond and all these cities around is that it's us against them. We need to band with the landowners, with the tenants. We need to come together and talk about the issues. As long as we keep saying the landlords are terrible and the people are struggling, nothing's going to happen. We need to come together and talk about the things that are going on and work out some agreements. We can't keep pushing them on one side and us on another side and hoping things are going to be resolved. And when buildings come to this community, everybody needs to get involved and say what we want instead of being told what you're going to get. And what I would love to see is these places that are up and down the street being refurbished. Up and down McDonald, there are studio and one-bedroom apartments that are being overlooked, and that creates blight, and it has to stop. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Virginia, and I believe that there is this unrealistic and unreachable goal to put a stable roof over our heads nowadays. The idea that if you work really hard to own your house, to have a stable place to live in, it's no longer possible, and we can't ignore that. We can't keep saying, oh, it'll fix itself, the market will fix it, we'll get there, more affordable housing, because yes, we can build more affordable housing, but that takes years, and we need our renters to have relief right now. That's why I support Prop 10, the repeal of Costa-Hawkins, in order to allow cities to enact rent control to apartments built after 1995 and single-family homes. But I would also want to talk to landlords and homeowners to see what their issues are and help them as well, because we need to work together. We all share this city, and we need to work together.
Hello, thank you everybody for coming. I'm Carol Johnson. I've been a community activist for 11 years, and I am in full support of Proposition 10, as well as Propositions 1 and 2, which will all help to reduce homelessness and increase affordable housing. And I do agree that we need to work together with landlords and tenants alike, not against them. But the reason why we need renter protection is because not everybody is in a position to be homeowners. They can, utilize first-time home buyer programs with credit. In the meantime, we need the renter protection. So we need to support Prop 10. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tom Butt. I'm your current mayor running for re-election. One of my jobs is serving on the board of MCE Marine Clean Energy. We have an important board meeting tonight, and I'm going to have to leave after this round of questions. But regarding the question, Richmond is getting better and better. It's cleaner, greener, safer, healthier, smarter than it has ever been. And because of that, more and more people want to live here. You cannot build a wall around Richmond. Either we build enough housing to accommodate the people who want to live here, or they're going to push people out of Richmond. That's it, pure and simple. I differ from everyone up here. I do not support Prop 10. I can tell you that if Prop 10 passes, you'll never see another rental project built in Richmond. And that's not good for the city. It's not good for renters. It's not really good for anybody. So thank you very much, and I'm sorry I have to leave.
Thank you all for sharing. At this time, I would like to invite Jory Smith from Great City Rides to offer us the second top question.
Thank you. And welcome everybody. So coming with the second question, here we go. Currently the police and fire department budgets consume 2/3 of the city budget, leaving only 1/3 for all other city services. What is your plan to change that ratio? Imagine. Where the police and fire department budget is reduced and more money is provided to other city services to improve the quality of life for all people in Richmond. Richmond is gentrifying. The Richmond Police Department has historically been an instrument for oppression against poor people, African Americans, and other people of color as well. What will you do to ensure the police department is not used as an instrument to clear out our current residents and further gentrification? We'll start with Carol. You want me to repeat the question?
There's 2 questions.
It's actually a 2-part question. Should we start with the first?
They got to answer 1 minute, both questions.
1 minute for both? All right, so what I want to know is, what is your plan to change that ratio where the police and fire department budget is reduced and there's more money that is provided for other city services to improve the quality of life for all people in Richmond? Second question, what will you do to ensure the Richmond Police Department is not used as an instrument to clear out current residents and further gentrification?
So those are great questions. So I believe that the money, in the budget should be balanced more between the police and youth programs and community programs as far as those are concerned with public safety, because we cannot leave that all up to the police. If we do need programs to help the youth and to, programs like Safe Return to help formerly incarcerated people. So it's a holistic solution for public safety. And the second question, there needs to be more accountability. I guess the police commission, they would be playing a part in this, and it's not enough to have transparency with the police department, because we've seen all of the videos and how they're harassing people in public housing and accusing them of loitering if they're just sitting, which is abuse of power. So we want to cut down on that and encourage them to have more integrity in the department.
Hi, I believe that more funding should go to community services, like youth services, re-entry centers, employment centers, because that's what helps our community get better and contribute more. As opposed to the police question, I think what they're lacking is mental health and restorative justice trainings, because we are complex human beings and you cannot just see us as one thing or the other. You kind of have to see the whole picture, and mental health is part of that. That's what I...
I'm glad you asked that question. You see, Richmond is a city that has a lot of property, a lot of land, but we have people in charge that have made very poor decisions in the past. And that's how the police department and the fire department salaries got up to $300,000. If you look in the newspaper, if you look it up, they make more than most cities twice our size, which is a real shame. And the only way you can reduce that is for the city council to get together with the mayor, city manager, and talk about ways to bring those salaries down. Because when you start that high, how far do you go? And it means this community is going to suffer because we don't have police protection. Fire protection is okay, but we need this community to be protected. My house was broken into. It took them 10 hours to get there. And then he gave me a card with a number on it. Nothing else. This is ridiculous. And as far as the other things you were talking about, this is a big deal. People need to be able to report things that happen regarding the police. And not so much to the police department of the city. I want to see our neighborhood councils get involved. So when you come to those meetings, you can say, this week or next week, this is what happened to me. And then they report back to the city. Thank you.
Being on the city council, I can tell you that the police union and the fire union are hardcore. They want what they want, and they will fight as hard as possible to keep it. So we need to fight just as hard back to make sure that the other unions get what they deserve, because it's the other unions that are providing the services that make Richmond the city that it is. So in terms of accountability, we need police that are born, raised in Richmond. So we have cadets, and I would like to see those cadets who are born in Richmond, raised in Richmond, went to our schools, go to a police academy, and then become Richmond police, so that they know the community, they know the people that they're representing.
Yeah, first off, I am committed to taking 20% from the police budget and actually putting it into other services, because to me, public safety comes from investing into people, not policing people. But at the same time, we do need to have real conversations as community members and neighbors. Because when I go door knocking and talking to people and ask them what are their issues and concerns, they say crime and violence. What is your solution? More police. You see, there's still this narrative that police automatically equals safety. Youth programs equals safety. Having a stable place to live equals safety. Having good services equals safety. But in order to have that, we need to have a strong conversation as neighbors and decision makers on what is public safety and push that to the city council. So I'm ready to have that conversation with everybody is. We just need to start having it so we can hold the police unions and everybody else accountable, saying, no, this is what public safety is and this is what we need our money to go to. Thank you.
As a violence prevention specialist for over 18 years now, through the programs that I have either founded or been working with, we have been able to get some of the young kids to go to the Explorers program and to become police officers now. That's an actual community policing grassroots program that is coming up, and that's the way the police officers are going to be able to understand and relate to the issues that we have. Serving the Citizens Police Review Commission for 2 years now, that's something that we can work together with the police department to hold them accountable for what's going on. But in fact, we can't have them against us or them against us or we against them. We have to be able to work together to be able to find solutions. Police is very important, fire is very important, that's our grassroots safety for ourselves. But direct services for our kids is going to be able to secure a better community for us. So I'm for direct services and be able to work with those departments to be able to come up with some common solutions. Thank you.
For the budget, we need to make sure that we're using data to compare how large of a portion police and fire are taking up to our budget. and what our opportunities are to flip that on its head and invest directly in the community. That is going to save us money. And what Eduardo and Melvin failed to mention was we're actually working on this project right now. We're doing research to be able to create a plan so that we can start diminishing the amount of funds that they take up. So that we can take that not only to the fire department and the police department, but their unions and say, these are the facts. We want to keep your lives safe. We want to make sure you're focusing on those crimes that are bigger, homicides, the bigger things. Actually building relationships with the community. And that's only going to happen if we work together and prioritize that. As far as stopping police harm, I think that we need to work closer with them, and then we also have to do some of the things my colleagues mentioned. Build deeper relationships. Thank you.
All right, let's thank our candidates for those thoughtful answers. Now we're going to need your help. We're going to move into our circles here, and that means we need to break out, and we're going to create a circle in the middle, and then 4 circles in the 4 corners of this room.
Facilitators, raise your hand.
And so anybody who's a facilitator, we have 5 circles. So everybody, thank you. Since we started, you've actually been joined by 2 more candidates. Cesar Cepeda, and then also Eleanor Thompson. So thank you guys for joining us. You're just in time for the lightning round.
Are we going to pass out the yes and no?
Yeah. I'm setting up the dump truck right now.
Okay, I'll explain. So in this section, we're going to ask, we have 28 questions prepared for you. And you'll be given a yes and a no sign. And at the end of the question, you can raise it up, yes, do you agree, or no, do you not agree. And if you don't know or you don't have a position, then you don't have to do anything. We'll consider that undecided or uninformed. All right. All right, and then of course, Ratha Lai, our intrepid Our Power coordinator, is going to be tracking their responses.
And I'm put it up on that board.
And at the end of the evening, those responses will be posted up on the board in the back. So Nakari and I are going to take turns.
And if you put your email, if you signed up with your email, we'll send it to you
too. All right. So, first question. Small print. Do you support initiating the process to decommission refineries? Decommissioning refineries, that means progressively shutting them down. Do you support initiating a process to decommission refineries? Okay, we have several yeses, several undecideds, a couple no's. Would you support raising fees set before 1990 on big industrial polluters and direct it to community programs like co-ops, etc.? All right, universal agreement. Would you support a community-driven restructuring of the city budget? All right, softballs. Would you support applying participatory budgeting practices to the general fund budget? Okay. Do you support Prop 10 to repeal Costa-Hawkins? We got some disagreements. All right. Would you support an interdepartmental city staff task force to respond in a concerted and informed way to homeless residents? Nobody likes that idea. Would you support developing a comprehensive and coordinated city plan to support homeless residents? All right. Would you support developing a comprehensive and coordinated city plan to stop illegal dumping? Okay. Looks like a party up here. Do you support a right of return policy for displaced Richmond residents? Do you support expanding voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds, ex-felons, and homeless people to be eligible to vote in local and school board elections? Sounds like an ordinance in the making. And non-citizens, registered agents. Yes. And did the city reach a good settlement agreement with Upstream regarding Point Molate? Did the city reach a good settlement with Upstream regarding Point Molate? Okay. And do you support expanding the summer jobs programs for Richmond youth? And how do you stop the nepotism?
That was my vote too, Diego. Oh.
Okay. Do you support the transfer of city-owned public land to a resident-governed land trust? Do you support the transfer of city-owned public land to a resident-governed land trust? Okay. And should expertise in a specific field be the sole or primary reason for appointment on a commission? Okay, should expertise in a specific field be a sole or primary reason for appointment to a commission? No. All right. Is our black and brown community over-policed?
We'll take 4 pictures, stay up there.
Okay.
I don't think I'll need it.
Do you support Measure H? Okay. Will you commit to help shelter in the homeless population we have in Richmond? Okay, kind-hearted. Can you create giveaway programs for families in need of food, clipper cards, bus cards, and clothes and shoes once per month? Can you create giveaway programs for families in need of food, clipper cards, bus cards, clothes, and shoes once per month? Okay. Will you commit to addressing and finding best practice solutions to homelessness here in the city of Richmond? All right. And will you commit to addressing the disparity for African American kids' access to youth? Will you commit to addressing economic workforce development and disparity amongst African American youth and young adults in the city? I think that's a question. Okay. Will you commit to working with SRP, Safe Return Project, and directly impacted communities to adopt policies, recommendations, and procedures that will re-enfranchise black people and people of color who have been disenfranchised by criminalization? All right. Our belief in a true public safety, a deep investment in communities impacted by criminalization, racial disparity, poverty, and trauma. Will you commit to adopting justice reinvestment strategies that allocate more of our city resources to community-based services and resources rather than the police? Okay. Will you commit to supporting local legislation allowing returning citizens on parole to vote in local elections. Yeah, we talked about that. Okay. Will you commit to reducing racial and wealth disparity in the city driven by gentrification and displacement? Okay. Do you support ending the school-to-prison pipeline? And if so, would you be in favor of ending the city police enforcement contract with the WCCUSD? Get the cops out of the schools. Do you support that, yes or no? Okay. Will you pass anti-gentrification policing laws that protect citizens from being wrongly harassed by the police? Okay. Will you reallocate resources from the public safety budget to allow more resources for community programs for youth and family? In other words, cut the police and fire budgets. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, these are your candidates for Richmond City Council and Mayor of the City of Richmond. And so, we have a candidate closing statement. We're going to have a question read by a member of APEN, Moi Célie. Moi? Ah, come on up, Moi. Let's give one round of applause.
Hello everyone, my name is Juan Lee and I've been a Richmond resident all my life and I am a member of APEN. So my question to you all is, what is your plan for a just transition in Richmond to move Richmond away from an extractive economy to a regenerative and sustainable economy?
Okay, and you have 1 minute to answer that question, and since we are a progressive movement, we'll start here on the left.
Well, my plan is to obviously work together collaboratively with community members, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, environmental organizations, unions as well, because it's going to take all of us to work collaboratively to have that kind of just transition, because we need to figure out what does a just transition look like. What are we talking about? Are we talking about the fossil fuel economy? Are we talking about profiting on housing while not having to be a human right? And how are we all changing the narrative together and making sure that there's opportunities before people as we're doing this transition? Like if we were to decommission a refinery, I want to make sure that there's a plan put in place for renewable energy to make sure that those who are working at the refinery have the first step and first opportunity to get those new jobs, so we're not putting people unemployed as we're trying to fight for new renewable energy. It's a big climb. It's going to take all of us working together, but we can definitely do it, and I have the political willpower to get it done. Thanks.
Along with that, we have to make a long-term plan for how we're going to stop letting Chevron say, we make up a big part of your budget. That's not good enough. We're moving in a different direction. We no longer need Chevron. We're going to fund ourselves. We're going to be able to create jobs like cooperatives that have you as the owners. And we can do that by providing you with the matching funds that you need to get your business started, with grants. We need to be able to change the way that we think about who profits. Your money in should be your money out. And more than that, we have to work with all of the organizations that already have this plan, are working on the ground already. That's what Our Power Coalition does. And as your council member, it is my privilege to be able to listen and let you lead and let me know what it is that I need to put on the books so that we can move this quickly. More than anything, I know that being on the council will allow us to have the political power to really shut it down on these companies and say, you don't tell us what to do, you don't hold carrots over us, you don't get to define what our economy is going to look like just because you have the most amount of money. There's so much wealth that flows through here, literally through here, on the coal trains. Literally that's refined here at Chevron. So we're going to end that. Thank you.
Agreeing with a lot of my candidates have mentioned earlier already, but we also have to be able to understand that we have to bring in the community to participate in this. we do need some economy revenue. So we have to make sure that they contribute their fair share. And we have to be able to get the community to be part of that process, to be able to understand what is it that we need. But the other thing is to educate our community to be able to invest in us too. We have a lot of mom and pops businesses in our community, but a lot of people don't invest in them. They rather go out because it's cheaper. They rather go out and purchase somewhere else. We have to be able to circulate those funding here in our community, so we have to invest in ourselves. But we definitely need that revenue stream from the businesses to be able to say, you know what, we can contribute, but it has to come from this community to understand that we need to make them accountable for their own fair share. Thank you.
Part of transitioning is financial. So I'm working with the city of San Francisco, Oakland, and Berkeley, and the county of Alameda to establish a regional bank so that our monies, the city monies, will go into a fund and we'll be able to borrow from it, and the interest will come back to the community. In the meantime, we need to make Chevron understand that the oil extraction days are over and they need to start transitioning. And if they can't do it, then we'll have to help them move the boat so that they can ship themselves out of here, and we can create the kind of community that we want. We also need to stop the coal export, because it's one world, and anything that happens here in Richmond affects the rest of the world.
I'm not going to lie to you. Chevron's been here over 100 years. They can be our partners, but they don't need to lead us anymore. If you go to any fair, festival you have in the city, what do you see? Chevron. Everybody wants what they have, so how are you going to talk about putting them out if you're still getting things from them? If you want them to work with you, you have to negotiate with them. You have to talk to them. This city has to decide, are you going to be their children and they're with your stepfather? Are you going to be their instigator and say, this is what we need, this is what we want, and we need you to help us get it? This thing about putting Chevron out is a ridiculous thought, because they've been here a long time and they've controlled so much in the city. But you know what? It's not a bad thing. The bad thing is we have not been strong enough to be partners with them. We have not been strong enough to tell them what we want. They gave us the money after all these years of fighting, and what do? We put it in scholarships for kids that would probably get scholarships anyway, and we didn't require anything. They take our money, they get educated, they go somewhere else. We needed to make it so those children that got scholarships stay here and work in Richmond and advance this community, since they're getting all the Chevron money, and that's not what's happening.
Trying to catch all of the question there. Part of it, I believe, was about
just transition for Richmond. How would you move Richmond in just transition away from the extractive economy to a regenerative and sustainable economy?
All right, so coal is definitely, no matter which way you look at it, there is no clean coal. I think we have a lot of opportunities in Richmond to be able to move away from, call it for an example, we have opportunities coming in from our port, that if we start using our port more, we can bring in any lost revenue that we would have by no longer allowing coal to come through Richmond. I've already spoken with the port commissioners of San Francisco, Oakland, and I started conversations with our local port here as well, figuring out ways that we can divert from there. Figuring out, whatever is coming in from the port, what can we do to get more of it in here, as opposed to having that coal coming in through Richmond. I know it's a really tough conversation, but we have to start somewhere.
Hi, I believe in protecting the environment and clean energy. I don't have a specific plan for you, but what I would do is I would like to be the voice for those community organizations that are already out there and have put all this work, and be their voice and bring that to the city council. Thank you.
So I completely support everything that Our Power Coalition is trying to accomplish, and hopefully you will reach your goals by the year 2030. I'm all about renewing, reusing, and recycling.
I don't know about getting rid of Chevron, but I do know one thing. They give us millions and millions of dollars for the city. And anything, we should be a partner with Chevron. We should hold them accountable. And by holding them accountable, there should be someone employed over at Chevron that is like a watchdog to make sure that they're keeping their factories up to date so that we don't have another spill or another fire that would harm the people. So we do want to keep the people safe. That's why we should have somebody stationed in Chevron so that we can hold them accountable. And also, we can find that sometimes the city council members and those people who are in office are not fair. When it comes to grant, they give the grants to the same people over and over and over. In order for my small nonprofit to receive a grant and another nonprofit organization to receive a grant, we had to go and fight for that after they had already given away all the money. And
All right, let's thank all of our candidates for going through this tonight. So I'd like to review the candidates with you. So, will the two mayoral candidates stand up? Mr. Melvin Willis and Kathy Robinson, running for mayor. Thank you. And then our city council candidates, would you please stand? Ada Racino, Diego Garcia, Eduardo Martinez, Cesar Zepeda, Virginia Ramirez, Carol Johnson, and Eleanor Thompson. So, in closing, we'd like to remind you not only to vote, but if you want to help these people get elected, doesn't matter who it is, talk to them, get involved in their campaign, get out and knock on doors, get out there and convince other people that you want to get one of these people elected, or maybe 2 or 3 of these people elected. It's up to you. But you got to get involved now. It's a race to the finish line, and that finish line is election day in November. And we have information about the candidates back here. You can get yard signs, put them up in your yard, put them up in your window, put them in your neighbor's yard, take them to school, and just don't put it on public places. At least that's what we're told. So, thank you everybody for coming. Rafa, is there anything else we need to do in covering it up?